There's no way to hide it. If you drive drunk, we will find you. Cops everywhere are stepping up enforcement and cracking down like never before. Make no mistake, you will get caught and you will be arrested. Over the limit, under arrest.
That's one of the government's public service announcements about drunk driving. And it's true, the number of deaths per mile driven has steadily dropped, and some say it's because of our tough drunk driving laws. How many of you think these laws are a good thing and we should have drunk driving laws? Everybody in this pretty libertarian audience. And I've always thought that, but journalist Radley Balco says no. If we really care about road safety, he says we should abolish drunk driving laws. So, abolish them? Are you nuts?
Got that question a lot when I wrote that column. No, I mean, the problem with drunk driving is the reckless driving. It's the threat to roadway safety. And my point is that focusing just on alcohol is not, doesn't make the roads any safer. So let me give you two scenarios, John. So you're driving home one night, it's 11:30 at night, you've had a few drinks. You go through, you sort of roll through a stop sign, right? Nobody else is on the road. You don't see the police officer there. He sees you rolling through the stop sign. He pulls you over. You blow, you know, .081 on the breath test. You're legally drunk. You're going to lose your license for 6 months. You're going to pay probably $1,000 or more in fines. You're going to have to attend an alcohol addiction class and probably pay for that.
Teach me a lesson.
Well, second scenario, I'm driving home the same night. I haven't slept in 36 hours. I fall asleep at the wheel. My car barrels through a red light, and I injure a couple of people.
And lack of sleep kills a lot of people on the highway.
Exactly, and I'm actually a much, much greater threat to other people on the road than you are with my sleep deprivation. And there are actually studies showing this, that people who are sleep deprived are much more distracted than people who are .08 to .10 in that range with blood alcohol level. So my point is actually it should be the reckless driving. It should be the threat to roadway safety. That's what should be illegal. That's what we should be punishing. When we focus on alcohol, I've won
Wait
some
a second,
of them
you
over.
all voted the other way before. You've been convinced.
But when you make the condition, when you make how much alcohol is in your blood the crime, you get to these absurd situations that we have today where, for example, in a lot of states, the legislatures and the courts have approved this, the police can forcibly draw blood from you alongside of the road in order to test it for its alcohol content, even if it's a minor traffic violation. This is where my problem is.
These beefy cop can come up to me and
jam a needle in your arm and take blood out of your arm if they suspect that you're drunk. You have these roadblocks. When these local governments set them up, they'll stop, 1,500, 2,000 cars. They'll write 700 or 800 citations, and they'll have maybe 2 or 3 people that they catch for drunk driving. The rest are, an improperly affixed decal, or somebody's not wearing their seatbelt. So these become revenue generators, and it's all sort of driven by this, what I think is really kind of a hysteria over drunk driving laws. Now, I'm not supporting drunk driving here, and actually I think the PR campaign that we've had since the early 80s on DWI laws has been very, very successful.
PR campaigns are not coercive.
They're not coercive.
Making you think about it.
But we used to think it was, we used to sort of laugh at the guy who stumbles out of the bar and gets into the car and sort of swerves out of the parking lot. Now that guy's a pariah, and I think that's great. But I think it's social pressure that has done that. And I think
all right, but let's talk about the law. The law is now, if you have a blood alcohol level of 0.08%, you're in trouble if they catch you. And since they passed that law, alcohol deaths have dropped. Here's, in fact, we have a graph of alcohol-related traffic fatalities.
Well, actually, what happened was, John, the fatalities dropped significantly from about 1980 to about 1999. This law was passed in the late 90s. It took effect in 2000.
This graph shows when the new, tougher law passed, and actually deaths went up slightly.
Exactly.
And stopped. I mean, they were going down before as people got smarter and more careful.
Drunk driving fatalities actually increased when Congress lowered the blood alcohol level to 0.08. And you ask, how can that happen? Well, people who are between 0.08 and 0.10 aren't significantly impaired, so they're not driving erratically enough to be caught by conventional means. So you have to set up these roadblocks. Well, these roadblocks take 8, 10, 12 police officers to staff them in order to sort of run all the cars through the system. Those are cops who are now not on the road catching the actual drunk people. And so,
and seeing who was reckless.
And seeing who was reckless.
Mothers Against Drunk Driving, we call them up and tell them about this segment, and they say, if your kids are acting up, that lasts a third of a second for you to look in the mirror. Your eyes go back to the road. But if I'm impaired, I'm drunk the entire time.
Well, that's true, although I don't think that's different with, I do think when you have kids in the car the entire time, your kids are a distraction the entire time. If you're sleep deprived, that's certainly going to be a distraction the entire time. If you're on prescription medication, painkillers, for example, that's going to be a distraction the entire time. And none of these have the same sorts of penalties if you cause an accident that we give for alcohol impairment. And, you know, if your goal is to make drinking alcohol while driving a sort of the worst thing you can possibly do, then the laws we have are fine. Let's keep them. If your goal is to actually make the highways safer, I think we need to concentrate on the actual reckless driving and not whatever it is that's causing it.